Leonard Hankerson in particular with a pair of touchdown catches. Travis Benjamin also showing off his speed and moves. And right away you have some movement on the defensive line with the false start. Jason Solotkin, Casey Jones with you here on CSS. As the spring schedule comes to a close, you see A.J. Highsmith, the good and the bad in that first half, as mentioned, KC, with a couple of interceptions, including one by Ray Armstrong to end the second quarter.
Yeah, it was interesting watching during the break. Mark Whipple goes over to A.J. Highsmith, and I couldn't read lips, but I'm sure he was saying, don't lock on your receiver. Look off the DBs when you're locking on your receiver. Those are the two interceptions were direct relation to him locking on a receiver from the moment he took the snap.
Appears to be the second team offense on the field with Highsmith. Actually, at this point, they could be mixing it up. Third or fourth time Damian Berry is brought down in the backfield. You know, Berry really last year was utilized between the tackles as the power runner. You see him this afternoon trying to get to the outside and show off his speed. 3 touchdowns and 2 picks thrown by Highsmith. Stephen Morris, the true freshman, with a touchdown, and 2 thrown by Spencer Whipple. The fade pattern being used to perfection on a few occasions in the first half. Highsmith is in the shotgun after the penalty and the loss by Berry. 2nd and 25. Highsmith has time, but he overthrows the intended receiver, Damian Berry. Berry actually not sure if it was intended for him or the tight end, Richard Gordon, who ran a route right in front of him. On Telemark and Sean Spence, the junior linebackers celebrate the stop. Brings up a 3rd down. Actually a 2nd down and 25 on the scoreboard. No, it is 3rd down and 25. We mentioned again the schedule coming up in 2010. The Hurricanes get it started at home at the newly named Sun Life Stadium against intrastate rival Florida A&M. That one is caught by the original line of scrimmage brought in by LaRon Bird. That's a Thursday night opener at home against Florida A&M. And then the Hurricanes on the road against Ohio State. First half numbers out of the backfield. Mike James had a 51-yarder. Lamar Miller with a touchdown in the second quarter as well. Miami traveling up to Columbus against an Ohio State team that won 11 games last year. They'll be off the next week before traveling back on the road. Dave Wanstead's Pittsburgh Panthers on September 23rd. And again on the road to start it in the ACC at Clemson. So how does Randy Shannon prepare a team for such a tough start as they did last year? And by the way, after Clemson, they're home for Florida State, new coach Jimbo Fisher and the Seminoles. So you really have, as you did last year, a very tough start to the schedule. No cupcakes.
And they faced a tough schedule last year. And I think everybody, I don't think anybody gave them the benefit of that last year. And I think Randy Shannon's philosophy on the season is basically one game at a time. I think before the season, people would have been happy with a 2-2 start to split those first 4 games. Randy actually coached his team well enough to win 3 of those 4 games. Disappointing loss came at Virginia Tech. Again, this team has a tendency, and Randy will admit this as well, has a tendency that when they get some press, when they get the pub, when their names are in lights on the marquee, that they sometimes get a big head, and they fail to work during the week of practice, and it shows during the game.
I think it happened certainly last year on a couple of occasions, heading into the game at Virginia Tech after the big wins at Florida State and home against Georgia Tech. And again, the game against Clemson, one they'd like to have back, that overtime loss, 40-37. By the way, this third quarter reduced from 10 minutes to 7 minutes after they went a little bit long in the first half. Stats in the first half at the wide receiver position, Travis Benjamin is outstanding. A couple of nice adjustments on the football, some deep passes thrown by Whipple. Whipple in there at quarterback, evades one defender and throws that one tossed around by the defender, Holton, and nearly intercepted. C.J. Holton, the sophomore linebacker out of Crawfordville, Florida.
Olivier Vernon, another defensive end, and Rick Petrie's defensive line room, adding the pressure there. But again, the pressure coming from the defensive end spot, making impact on this game.
Well, Allison Williams earlier spoke with Javaris James, who participated in Pro Day yesterday. She's down with another recent graduate of UM, Sam Shields.
Yes, I am here with Sam Shields. And Sam, talk to us a little bit about how you've been getting ready for the draft here next month.
I've been working with Andrew Swayze, from weeks to weeks, getting ready for the Pro Day. Andrew Swayze has been doing a good job with us, getting our times down, just working a lot with us.
Coach Swayze's been such a big part of the program here at the U for so many years, and a lot of his former guys out here on the sideline today. Are you enjoying yourself here?
Oh, yeah, just to come back and just look at some of the guys that you've been working with from last year. That it looked good.
Anybody you've been able to meet for the first time or catch up with?
No, I've seen the same people, every day.
And some of the former alums are back here. Have any of these guys given you any advice as far as what to expect?
Oh, yeah, just about the speed, the next level is just the smartness and technique.
Tell us a little bit about how Pro Day went yesterday for you.
It went great. It's just, I had a focused mind when I went in there. I done did a lot, with Andrew Swayze, and, it came along good.
4.2, 4.40, is that right?
Yes.
Pretty impressive stuff. And you, of course, came here as a wide receiver, converted to defensive back, and that's the position you're going to try to continue in. How tough was that transition for you?
It was very tough. The backpedaling, that was hard. I couldn't backpedal. I was falling off and everything like that. But, it's kept on repetition, and it helped me out a lot.
Defensive backs looking pretty good this year. How fast are these guys?
They pretty fast. Everybody pretty fast on defensive back. So.
Who's the fastest?
You talking about now on the team?
Yeah.
DVD, DeMarcus Van Dyke.
Marcus Van Dyke. All right, Sam Shields, thank you so much for your time, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Allison. What a scene it was down at UM yesterday as Highsmith throws this one on a rope, and it is almost brought in. Incomplete. Downfield for the Hurricanes, the speedster Tommy Streeter, 6'5", 209. Streeter broke onto the scene in that bowl game with a big catch against Wisconsin, just unable to keep that one in his hands. 47-yard reception opened some eyes in the Champs Sports Bowl against the Badgers. But Casey, can you relate to a 4.2 40 run by Sam Shields yesterday?
Me? No. Actually, 4.2, maybe in a 20.
Right.
I can relate to that. But Sam Shields, a guy that is in and out of the doghouse. I think everybody became a fan of his, especially during his senior year, because he had so many troubles, seeing eye to eye with Randy Shannon. But Randy Shannon stuck with him, had faith in him, got him back on the field, and actually was a huge contributor last year to the Miami Hurricane football team. But great to see him out there on a wet track. It poured rain all night on Thursday night. He goes out there on a wet track and runs a 4.2 40. Definitely catching the eyes of NFL scouts there, which every NFL team had a representative at that workout yesterday.
First look at Daron Dye, a redshirt freshman out of Sanford and Seminole High School. Suffered from a knee injury last year, had surgery on it, gained 15 pounds of muscle following that surgery, and just adding depth to the already deep defensive end position.
You got to have depth. One thing we've learned the last couple of years, when they're thin at the defensive line, you're thin at the offensive line, those little nicks that you pick up in week 1, week 2, those things are magnified later on in the season, and you're not going to get the same performance out of your offensive defensive line in those crucial games down the stretch.
Well, the offensive line struggling right now, not giving much of a chance at the running back position for the likes of Storm Johnson. Gotta love that name, and I know you've been looking forward, Casey Jones, to seeing Storm on the field, and a Storm right there, the collision with a couple of linemen. Oof. You miss those days, Casey?
I do actually. It's always fun to go back and watch spring football, because it's a time when it's a more physical play. These guys aren't game planning. It's actually, there's a lot more one-on-one drills. There's more competitive drills on the field, so you really get to see who's actually going to step up, who's going to become a leader on the field. And looking at the offensive and defensive line, I'm very impressed with not only the physicality of these guys, but the intensity in which they practice at. The tempo of practice yesterday was very high. Actually, probably matching today's. It seems it's slowed down a little bit today, but I think that's that's attributed to Randy Shannon's attitude. He wants guys to be disciplined, play with whistle to whistle, but he also wants that intensity. He wants guys